Hello, this is video training, service, level 1, chapter 3. What we're going to be covering in this section is updating a work order and billing a work order. Let's begin. We're going into service. Okay, so what we've done prior to this is we've obviously added pots. Now you've added pots one of a couple of ways that you were taught in the first section of this chapter. We've also added on mechanic time, whether we've added time through using like we update close RO, or we're using mechanic posting, or we're using the time clock system. Now we want to go in and let's take a look at that work order and let's look at some of the other features that we may want to do while we're in there. Update close RO, and that's exactly what it is. Update or close. We can update it, we can close it out and bill it. Let's go in and take a look at a work order. Like we mentioned before, standard lookup. If you know the RO number, you can type it. If you don't, you can just hit the enter key. It will show all your lookups. It'll always show the newest at the top. You can do a keyword lookup, and with a keyword lookup you can type in a name, first name, last name, registration number, if it's a boat, the name of the boat, type of product it is. So a keyword, you can do anything you want. Let's go in and we'll pick this one here first. Let's just look at what this screen looks like and tell you a little bit about what's going on with this screen. Now initially we came in here, all we did was add mechanic time. Now keep in mind we did that by right clicking and putting the time in here and who worked on it. Okay, now let's look at some of the other features. Obviously this looks very similar to our POTS program. And that's why we recommend learning one module at a time, because as you work with one module, you'll find that they all are very consistent and they all work the same. So learning how to use one module is a real good idea, because learning other modules just get real simple because everything pretty much works the same. For example, just like the POT system. Let me explain what you're looking at here. When you're looking at a service work order, it'll list all the POTs. And in here, you'll see the code. What the code is, that's the actual cost of those POTs. Keep in mind, this is not what the bill is going to look like. And this is also an option that you can change. So it does not have the cost there. Most dealers want to see the cost so they can make intelligent decisions. If I'm a service manager and I'm trying to decide what I want to charge this customer, maybe I want to give them the best deal possible, I want to know the fact that I'm paying $1.25 for that pot and I'm selling it for $2.95. So that's exactly what that is. Now it says code and it's got a slash there, so if a customer does look over your shoulder, it's not obvious what that is. So that's what's going to have on all the pots. And here again, we've got the oil. Now there's my label. We have 4 jobs here. 2 of them are flat rate jobs, 2 of them are hourly. What's it trying to tell me here? Well, if we look over here, this is the estimated time. Obviously, in chapter 1, we went over how to create a job, how to put the estimated time in. So we basically said that job was supposed to take 1 hour. JT actual is the actual time it took. It took 3. It took 2 hours more than it was supposed to. My actual cost on that is $36. What I'm going to charge, JT charges the charge time. That's what we're going to bill the customer. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same. We can bill the customer 10 hours if we want. At $85 an hour, it's $255. This next job, now why is that job grayed out? That job's grayed out because we told the system that that particular job within this work order is complete. It's done. When you say a job is done, it'll gray the line out and put a D here. Also, this Y designate that there's a note attached to this job. In other words, there's somebody put a note on here that they want the customer to see more information. That's what that Y designate, and we'll be looking at that in a second. So this next job here, estimated time was 1 hour. The actual time was 1 hour. The cost was $15. It's a flat rate job. We're just charging $25. The same thing here. So here's our labor part. We also have a sublet. What's a sublet? A sublet is typically something that you may pay somebody else to do. For example, maybe you want to pick up a motorcycle and you're going to pay somebody to go get it. This is my cost. This is what we're charging the customer. Next thing we have on here is a comment. What is a comment? Now, keep in mind, a comment is not designed to tell the customer what you did. It's not designed to give him a long description of, hey, here's what we had to do. Here's what's wrong. It's not for that. What a comment is typically used for is to relay a message to the customer. For example, in this case, it's a boat. And we basically notice the prop needs to be replaced. We call Mike up. He said he didn't want to replace it. Maybe he didn't have the money to do it. We want Mike to know that he's got a bad prop. We don't want him taking that out of here and then calling us up and saying, hey, I have a lot of vibration. What's going on? So it's something to relay a message. It does two things. It protects you as a dealer. So now the customer doesn't call you back and say, hey, there's something wrong here, where now you can say, yes, we told you there was something wrong. You elected not to have it fixed. Especially like if you're working on a motorcycle and you notice the brakes are bad, and you want to tell the customer your brakes are really bad, they really need to be fixed, and the customer says, no, don't do it. Now he picks that bike up and he runs into something because his brakes don't work. Well, you want a documentation that you informed him that he had a problem, and you want documentation that he had elected not to do that. This will print on the bill. It also serves as another function. As soon as we build this out, it's going to go to our history file. Now, we saw how the history file was used when we were looking at Chapter 1. In creating a work order. Well, every time you create a work order, most customers will click on that history just to see the last time that customer was there, what they actually did. Well, when you click on that history, you'll see a yellow bold line which will tell you the last comment that you put in. So if this customer comes back a month from now, a year from now, the computer's going to remind me, hey, you still have this problem. Did you fix it? If not, I want to remind you about it while I'm talking to you right now. So it's a really great tool. And this is just a recap of what's going on here. Now there's also one other line here called environmental fee / shop fee. There again, if Chapter 1, on level 1, it went over setting up your environmental fee shop supplies. So assuming that you've set that up, this is where it's going to be. The description is what you keyed in. There again, this is your description, whatever you keyed in. The amount is what you set it at. And there again, you can set it at a flat fee like we have ours for $10, or you may have set it up as a percentage. So this is what you're looking at on the screen here. Now let's go over some of the buttons and how you can manipulate what you're seeing. We've already gone over the right click, where you want to add more mechanic time through here. And there again, this is the method you'd be using if you're not using a time card system or the time clock system. And you would type in the amount of time that Dave worked. If you want to change what you're going to charge, okay, it's saying, do you want to charge 2.5 hours? No, I don't. I'm going to charge him 3 hours. Do you want to keep it at $85 an hour, or do you want to increase that? I can make it whatever I want. If I'm all done here, and that's all I need to do, I can just hit F12 or click on the mouse. If I need to put in a description of what we had to do here, I can key in whatever I want to key in as a description. Let's just hit F12. Now our time has been adjusted. We work 2.5. We're charging the customer 3 hours at $85 an hour. Now if we look at this great outline, there's a message here. Let's take a look at that message. Somebody put this in. This is what we had to do. It took a little bit longer than normal. If we need to change the price, we can. I can change the hourly rate. This one's 65. I can change that. I can change anything I want here. Maybe I want to add a private note. What's a private note? It's a message that I don't want the customer to see. Adding a private note is relatively simple. And there again, there are no limitations to the size of the notes, whether it's a private or it's for a customer. You hit escape, nothing happens. You hit F9, it will save that note. There again, it will not print out on the bill. It will not print out on anything the customer will see. If you hit save changes and print, this will actually print the note as well as save it. Okay. Now, let's look at some other features here that we didn't cover when we're putting mechanic time in. For example, let's take a look at this tune-up. Now, maybe what I want to do is I'm looking at this and I'm saying the estimated time was 2 hours. I can see that the actual time was 3.7. My cost is $41. It's a flat rate job. I'm only charging $200. What's going on here? Let me take a look at this, and I am going to right-click again. It's telling me here's what we did. obviously I can see our estimated time was 2 hours. We're over 3.7 hours. This is an interesting button here called Job Analysis. I want to really look and see what did I do on this job. This will always be the last person that worked on it. I'm going to hit Job Analysis. What that'll show me is everything I want to know about that job. For example, here's the pots we used for it. Here's the cost of those pots. My total cost for all those pots were $59.45. Here's what we're charging the customer. Here's what my profit is on the pots. Let's look at the labor. My estimated time was 2 hours. I had 3 different people work on that job. It'll tell me each employee that worked on it, how long they worked on it, 2.5, Dave worked on it. That's the date he worked on it. There's what my estimated cost is. Dick worked on it for 1.2. He worked on it for a half a minute. My total time on this here, I'm over on this job by 1.7 hours. So there's something wrong here. I'm not getting what I suspected. I expected a 2-hour job. What I got was 3.7, and my cost is now $42. My profit is $158. I obviously was anticipating a little bit more profit on that. So what I may want to do is this. After I do an analysis and I see that, okay, there were some problems here. I'm going to charge the customer more. All I need to do is go here. Maybe I'm going to increase it $100. And you know what? I want to put a little note why I'm charging that customer $100 more. My list price, that's what I quoted them, $200. And there again, you can type in anything you want. And I'm just going to, and this might be some little message just defining why you had to charge the customer $100 more than what you quoted. And exactly what you did. Hey, it was a little bit longer job than we thought. Maybe your bolts were all rusted and we had to tap everything and re-drill thing. There again, there is no limit to this here. And like I said before, you can cut and paste, do whatever you want to do, mark it and put it wherever you want to put it. So there's really no limit to what you can do here as far as telling the customer what's going on. Now this is a customer message. It is going to print whatever you type here underneath that charge. So he's going to see a $300 charge on his bill, and underneath that it's going to be indented, and this is what he's going to see as a description. Now, if you want a private note, obviously you'd click that. So now this charge now has been increased to $300, and so you can, there again, right-click to pretty much go in, add notes, private notes, to a job analysis. Here's the pots that we used right here. Here's the money we're making on the pots. Here's the person that worked on it. Dave worked on it. And here's how much money we're making right there. Okay, let's go over some other features here. Now, there's also some buttons here on the screen. One says List Job Detail. Well, every time I click on a job, I can see that this job has detail because it's got a Y. That Y means that there's a note for it. So these 2 jobs have detail. 2 ways of looking at that detail is I can just right-click. Here's the detail. Or I can say Show List Job Detail. Now what that's doing, it lists it right underneath the job. There's my 2 jobs that have detail. This one here is going to say had to pull cable from back of a boat. This one here obviously is this note that we just put in here with all that garbagey stuff in here, and that's what's going to print out on the bill. Now obviously it'll look much, much better on the bill. If I unclick this, it goes right back to just the bottom line. What are we charging the customer? That's all I really want to see. The dollars and cents of things. I don't really need to see all the notes right here. Okay, let's go over some options here, just like the sales program. If you click on an individual line, like if I click on this line here, it's going to come up and say, okay, what do you want to do? You can delete a line off a bill. Now, if you do that, it gets recorded as you deleting that. You can manipulate a price just like the pot sales program. There again, if I click here, it's going to say, how do you want to do this? Do you want to do a percentage? Do you want to do a cost plus? Do you want to do a markup, markdown? And this is pretty much how you'd even want to discount labor. Because when you discount labor, you want the customer to know that you gave them a deal. You don't want to go in and just say, okay, I'm charging you $300 and change the price. So what I may want to do is I'm going to click Markdown. There again, it's exactly like the sales program. Notice what happened. Our yellow is here, which is basically saying, okay, click which one you want to change. Down here in the blue, it's saying pick, mark down line, or hit escape when you're done. So let's say this $300 charge. Yeah, I upped it to $300, but you know what? I'm gonna give him, let him have for $275, and I'm gonna type in $275. Now, when that prints out on the bill, he'll see that the price, was $300 and we marked it down. Same thing with this here. Maybe it's $65 an hour and I'm going to charge him $50 an hour. So I'm giving him a break. Same thing with this here. That's $21. Maybe I'm going to do it for $20. So you can manipulate the price. And notice as we manipulate the price, there's an asterisk that designates that we did so. So that's one way to do it. Now, if I've changed all the prices that I've wanted, I'm going to hit the escape key. So it works very similar to the pot system. If you want to manipulate the price, whether you're doing a cost plus, whether you're doing percentage, job is done. In other words, if I just want to say, okay, this one particular job is done, now it's done. Notice it's grayed out and there's a D there. If I say this winterization is done, that's sometimes helpful. I'm going to hit the escape key. That's helpful sometimes when you have big jobs and you want to know, okay, what's left to do on this? The only thing left to do on that is adjusting the cable. That's not done yet. These three are done. Let's click again. Obviously, you've got mark is done. You've got update notes. There's just another way of doing it where you can click on here and you can get in, just add private notes to any job you want, and you're going to stay in that mode here. By and large, the easiest way is to right click, and now you can pretty much add notes, private notes, job analysis, change time, pretty much do anything you want right here. So this by far is probably the quickest and most streamlined way to update any labor that you'd want to do. And also within here, you can mark that the job is done. So when you're done here, you can say, okay, that's done. Okay, so that's going on clicking on an individual line. Let's look at some of the buttons here. Obviously, this is the same as the pot system. We have cash out. We want to bill it, or maybe we just want to print it. This will allow me to delete it. This will allow me to save it. Normally what you're going to do is you're going to review this thing. You're going to make any adjustments to the price, and you're going to save it. You're going to notify the customer that it's done, and you're going to bill it out when he comes to pick it up. Now, how do you notify the customer that it's done? There's a button right here. Set RO flag to finish. When I say done, right now, it codes this as done. So when we do a listing, and that'll be green, designate this job as complete. What's also going to happen is an email gets sent to this customer. If in fact you're using the event processing, an email is sent to that customer notifying him his job is done and ready to get picked up. And if in event processing you told it to send a copy of the bill, he has a copy of the bill. This is a fantastic feature. It is something that you probably want to do. It's good for your customers. It's good for you. It saves a lot of time. That customer now gets his bill. He knows why he's paying $879. He has all the notes. He's got plenty of time to review it before he comes to pick it up. This right here, reverse auto charge. That's exactly what it does. Is our auto charge, $10 that we put on. That's what you did in the setup. If you change your mind, you say, look, I want to take it off this one particular bill, you can turn waste charge off. And now that's taken off. It's not on my bill. It's now $869. If you say, okay, I want to put it back on, it's going to say turn it back on. And now we're back up with our waste charge. So that's just a way to take it off and put it on. This is, there again, the same as the inventory system. This allows me to go back to the very beginning, put down maybe his telephone number changed, go back to my customer's database. His telephone number might have been changed. Maybe I need to change something and has used a template. Maybe we need to find out something where he bought a pot and maybe he wants to know when he bought it. There again, we can look at his whole history, pots invoices, service ROs, anything this customer has done with us. Over here, update RO header. Well, what that's for. When initially in Chapter 1, when we were creating a work order, one of the things that we covered is that when a new customer comes in and you ask him what his VIN number is and you ask him some of the important information about his products, he may not know. He probably doesn't know his VIN number. Well, there again, now you can have that mechanic, whoever worked on it, say, look, write down the VIN number, get me some more information that I need to get that the customer just didn't know at the time, and now you can go in and fill that information in. So, you may fill in all the things that he didn't know or he couldn't tell you. Also, you can have access to use a defined template, again, which we went over also in Chapter 1. When you're done entering any additional information, hit F12, and it's now been updated. Look up history. Many, many times a customer will say, well, look at, gee, you put a new coil on. Well, didn't you put a new coil on just a couple of years ago? Or didn't you put one on 2 months ago? Well, okay, let's check it out. Maybe we did. Maybe we made a mistake. As soon as you go to his history file, we can see that this customer, we've worked on this particular product 8 different times. We have 8 ROs out there. The total amount we've collected under all 8 is $3,200. They span a date range from 1999 to 2000. If I actually page up, I can see every single work order. Every blue line is a work order. That's the date. That's the work order number. That's exactly how much we charge for that particular work order. So there's not a question a customer can't ask you that you can't answer. Over here, add, update comments. Well, there again, it allows us to go in and put any comment we want. There again, it's free format. You can type whatever you want. Like I said before, a comment is typically used for relaying something to the customer, not so much what you did on a particular job. That's what we consider a note. Over here, add sublet. Well, what's sublet? Sublet is typically something that you would pay somebody else to do. For example, maybe the customer wants us to paint something. And we're going to charge, maybe we know that it's going to cost us 100 and we're going to charge the customer 200. And you know what, I'm going to call it paint. So job code is something that we went over in setting up an RO, setting up a work order. And there again, I assume you know what that means, where, now we can categorize jobs. So maybe I do painting a lot and I want to get how much money I make on paint. Or, and I'm subbing this out. Now, when I hit the Enter key, the default here is non-taxable. So if yours is taxable, you need to make sure the default is correct. We don't want you working harder than you have to. The next thing is it says, okay, do I need to add a note? Maybe I need to really further define what we're going to do here. Paint is just not enough. So if you need to add a note, there again, it's something that you can add a private note that maybe you don't want the customer to see, but you're going to print it out for whoever's going to do the job. Or you can put a note on that you want the customer to see. Obviously, this is a customer note. Private note would you hit here. Now, once you create that sublet, it'll go back to a sublet line, so you can create as many sublet lines as you want. When you're done, you hit escape. Here's my new line here. Cost is 100. I'm charging 200. All right, let's go over some of these other buttons. Add new flat rate labor. Okay, there's another button here called Add New Hourly Labor. What are these buttons here? We went over adding time. Adding time to an existing job on a work order. Obviously, you would do it the 3 different methods that we talked. Right click, put the time on. But what about if there's a job that you worked on that's not on this work order? In other words, you might have called the customer up and you might have said, hey, you have a bad prop, and he says, fix it. Okay, do it. And so you just tell somebody, do it. The job is already done. You've got it in your hands. You already know how long it took. It's all done. Well, there's 2 ways of doing that. And normally if the job is done and you just want to add a new job, you may want to just do this here. Add flat rate, and you would pick who did it. This would be all your mechanics. You'd pick the amount of time they did. It's a flat rate. What are you going to charge? $100. What did you do? Okay, well, and there again, maybe, you want to keep a job code if you want. Do you need to put in a description of what you did? There again, you can type in as much or as little as you want. Hit F12. That job is in there. And now I can add more jobs if I want. If I'm done, I'm done. There's my new job. If I want to add a new hourly job, same thing. Except now it says, what's the actual time? What do you want to charge the customer? That's my standard hourly rate, although if I want to, I can change it. And what did we do? And you can give it a job code or not, and if you want to go in and put in a bigger description, obviously you can put in whatever you want to do. We're done. There's my other job. So that gives you a lot of flexibility of just adding things right on the fly. Right is this, show RO totals. Basically just recaps everything you want to know about the job. Here's what you got in pots so far. Here's what you got in labor so far. Here's what you have in sublet. Here's what you have in your environmental fees. There are some pots out there, special order pots that haven't come in yet. So this job, obviously, we're waiting for some pots, $9.69 worth of pots. This is what we've collected in tax, and we don't have a deposit on this job. Now, there's also a button over here, Show Special Orders. All this is showing to me is things that we really can bill to the customer, things that are here. If I want to, I can click on that, and now what it does is says, okay, we still are waiting for this bushing, and it hasn't come in yet. So if you want to see what's out there that you're still waiting for, you may want to click on that. Over here, we've gone over this, and this is something that you may have turned on or may not. Add pots to a work order. Now, just like the pot system, you have all the buttons here. By and large, sometimes it's a lot easier. Hey, if I need to get out of here, there's only two ways out. Save it and print it. These are all my options. And these things do a lot of the same things the buttons do. For example, display update header. There again, goes right to the exact same thing here. If you need to now drop this thing off at his house and he says, well, I want you to deliver it, well, you can click here and get directions. It'll automatically call MapQuest. It'll automatically print directions. So now you can give it to somebody and say, look, I know it should take you a half an hour to get there, half an hour to get back. Here's the directions on how to do it. Miscellaneous. Okay, you can update hours. You can update mileage, change tax statuses, change the key rack. Like we said before in Chapter 1, many customers have numbers on the keys. They don't want names. They don't want registration numbers because they don't want somebody to be able to pick a key up and just go grab it and take off with it. So they basically have just numbers that so somebody can look at a number and they won't know what it really ties to without having the work order in their hand because that prints out on the work order. Reverse auto charge. There again, some of these things do the exact same things the buttons do. Change tax rates, add a PO number. You might be doing work for a big company and they want a PO number on this bill. This here allows you to list all the jobs with the job code. So you can hit list job code. Now it's telling me all my pots and what job they were applied to. Here's all my different job codes. Here's all the pots for that tune-up. Here's the pot for the winterization. Click here, puts it back to cost. This allows me to change jobs. What I can do is list my job codes. If I need to change them, maybe the pots person put the pots on the wrong job. And I just want to change it because I want accurate reports at the end of the month to be able to see what did I make on tune-ups. And obviously I can't get that if they're not putting the right pots to the right jobs. So it allows you to pick and choose and put, change your job codes. This allows you to delete a line, just like the pot system. This allows you to manipulate a price, whether it be cost plus, percentage, markup, markdown. This allows you to no charge things. Now, on the next chapter on level 2, we'll be going over warranties and internal charges. So we're not going to really be covering that right now. But if you want to just no charge something for a customer, the word here, charge, means somebody else is going to pay the piper. Somebody's going to pay the bill. If I say warranty charge or internal charge, we are going to be setting up internal accounts and warranty accounts, and it'll automatically bill those accounts for whatever bill that we have. So we'll be able to have one bill, and maybe the customer is paying paying for 2 or 3 jobs, and maybe some warranty companies paying for some other jobs, all on one bill. It will be going over that on the next chapter. Internal charge or internal sale. And there again, the word charge is the key here. Charge means you have to have it set up. It's going to bill some other account. If it doesn't say charge, it means you're just giving it away. Internal sale, all it means is I'm not going to charge the customer. On the invoice, it's going to say internal sale, and nobody's paying for it. My profit margin just got reduced. If that pot cost me $14 and I gave it away, well, I made $14 less profit. Previously billed is another option that you can click. Donation means I'm just giving it away. Included is something that you may have a job where, hey, it's $200. It includes the price of the pot. So you have the pots listed, but there's no charge for them. They're included. This is just no charge. Now, there's reports that'll print each one of these categories. So you can basically say, what did I do with donations? What did I do with included? What did I do with no charge? So you can get extensive reports letting you know where you're giving things away and categorizing them. AR information is going into that customer information, miscellaneous charges. If you need to get a deposit, maybe you're looking at this and say, you know what? I need to get a deposit. I'm not going to work on this anymore. You need to give me $500. When you click on that, it'll basically ask you how they're going to give it to you, cash, check, credit card. You'll take the deposit, and now the customer will owe you less money, just like taking a deposit for a special order. If you need to add freight, to this, there again, you can type in $40. Now we got $40 worth of freight on the bill. And you can actually add any miscellaneous charge you want. Now, with a miscellaneous charge, you can type in a credit amount too. If you just say, look, I'll give you $10 off, I can type in -10, and it'll reduce $10 off the bill rather than clicking on a line. Looking up RO history, this is the same thing as clicking the buttons. Now, this is add new, add sublet, add or update comments, add pots. Update is basically hitting the right arrow key. In other words, I'm going out to a line that's on here, and I'm not adding a new one. And that's the difference. When you click here, you're adding a new charge, a new line. When you're looking at this, you're updating one that's out there. By and large, the normal sequence of events is you put in what you're going to do when you're creating the RO. When you're in here, you're typically just updating lines. We already know what we need to do. What I need to do is update, how long it took us. This is add new labor codes. Now, what is that? There again, as we went over in Chapter 1, we had the ability of picking jobs from the history file. We had the ability to adding jobs in from our labor flat rate books. Well, this will bring you right back to the beginning to allow you to do that. For example, if I hit add new labor codes, it brings me right to my very first screen. I can do all the exact same things we did in Chapter 1. We can look at history. We can click on any job and say, oh, we're going to do this again. It'll automatically bring that in and pull the pots for me like we've seen in Chapter 1. So I can select anything from my history. I can select anything from my job code file. Whether it be a tune-up, whether it be we're working on, brakes or whatever we're doing. Here's all my brake jobs. So whether you have the flat rate book, and we have the flat rate book for marine dealers, RV dealers, motorcycle dealers. So whether you have the flat rate book that has all the standard jobs, or whether you've created your own, this is where you can get to them. And you can add as many new jobs as you want, obviously. Or you can just type in anything right from the very beginning, just like we went in Chapter 1. New job. And what type of job it is. It's exactly the same screen, exactly the same questions that we did in Chapter 1, creating a work order. All we're doing is going back to the beginning. This customer might have said, okay, I called us back and said, oh, you know what? There's something else I forgot to tell you. I want you to add this to this also. Okay. What's it going to cost me? Well, we think it's going to be 5 hours at $100 an hour. Okay, and there again, you can put in as much description as you want for this new job. It's right, this is basically looking at the exact same screen we were looking at on Chapter 1, beginning in RO. Why you would want to do this? Like I said, the example of a customer calls you back and says, oop, I forgot. I was there an hour ago. I told you to do this, 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 and this, and there's 3 more things I want you to do I forgot to mention. Well, you're going to add these to this work order. You don't want to start a new work order. So I'm adding these to my new work order, and there again, it's the exact same thing. I can double click, change it, delete it, do whatever I want to do with it, add pots to it from here if I wish. The exact same thing as Chapter 1. I'm going to hit update. Now when I hit print and update, it will, it'll ask me if I want to print, and I can print out a new work order because I just added some new jobs to this. If I want to print out a new work order, obviously we can do that. Reprint work order. That'll reprint that that new job that we've just added where we want to give it to somebody to do. Okay, so that was add, update, new labor codes. It goes right back to the beginning as new jobs. This is just adding notes. This is just saying the job is done. There are also some other options here that we'll get more in the advanced options. For example, just to let you know, you can build just one particular job. If I say build by job code, it'll actually list all my jobs, and these are my jobs, and it'll ask me which one do I want to bill out. I may actually say, well, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm done with that. I want to bill the customer for these jobs I'm done with, and I expect him to pay for that. Whether I want to bill his account and send him an invoice or send him a statement, or whether I want him to pay right up front, what it'll do, it'll just pick the jobs that I select here, and I can just bill that out, leave the rest of the work order open. We're going to be going that under advanced options. Okay, let's just save this. And I notified the customer that the job is done. I've set the bill pretty much the way I want. And now maybe I'm going to just save it and go back later. Now let's talk about billing somebody out. Somebody comes in and says, look, I got this email, says my job is done. Well, there again, customer comes in. Let's just do Tom Moore. I'm looking at Tom and I'm saying, yeah, okay, yep, looks like you owe me $619. If he asks me anything, and I want to know, okay, well, do we have any notes on here? Here's my note. Obviously that's going to print out on the job. Let's bill this customer. Well, let's just print it out. Want to bill the customer, you're going to say print and finalize. Now it's going to ask me a question. Do I want to finalize? A finalize means the job is done. It's all done. We're going to close it up. End of story. Print only means, I just want a hard copy of it. Maybe I just want to get a hard copy and, work with the customer and go over everything, go over all my notes, go over all my messages. Let's just finalize it. It wants to know who I am that's finalizing it. And same as a sales program. How are you paying for this? Are we billing your account? Are you paying by credit card? Now, bill progress. What does that mean? Well, bill progress is a feature that if you want to keep the job open, and there again, you don't want to use this if you just want to bill the customer and the job is complete. Why would you want to use bill progress? Suppose you're, it's the end of the month and, this bill is $600 and you're saying, you know what, I want you to pay me for what we've done so far. The job's not done, but, it's the end of the month. I want to bill for everything I've done so far. I expect to have some cash flow here. This is a bigger job. I'm not going to be out on the hook here for a lot of money. I want you to bill me for what I did. Whether the job is done or not, I don't care. That's bill progress. It'll bill whatever the total job is, and we're going to be doing that under the advanced service options. In this case, let's just say we'll keep it simple. The guy's paying me cash. It's $619. He gives me $620, and I need to give him 37 cents back. And now my invoice prints. Now, when you're looking at this invoice, we have many options on making this look differently. I'm just going to talk about a few, but it's something that you probably need to discuss with your support department. First of all, I have the option turned on where obviously this is my logo, and if you don't have your logo set up yet, it's just going to basically have the name of your company. We've already talked about changing options, so these will be the descriptions that you've set them to already. It's listing all my pots. Now, any pot that I discounted, it'll show me the list and what I discounted it to. Same thing with the labor. If I discounted anything, it would have the discount. Here's all my pots. Here's my labor, and it's separating each one. 1.6 hours, we install the tire. We balance the tire. Here's the description we did for it. Here's what we did with this tune-up. Here's the description we did for it. Here's my disclaimer. Here's my labor. Here's my pots. Here's my environmental fee. And this is the total charge. He gave me $620. We gave him 37 cents back. Now, when you look at this and you say, well, that's not what I want my bill to look like. Obviously, this is a watermark. You can have watermarks or not. But when I say you can change the way the bill looks, there are many options. And we'll be going over that in more of the advanced features. But just to let you know that this, I have it turned on, and the way we ship the system is typically it'll list all your pots, then all your labor, and then all your sublet, and then total everything at the bottom. There is also an option where you can say, I don't want it that way. I want it sorted by job. So I don't see all my pots and then all my labor. What I'll see is all tune-up, and it'll list all my pots. Then right underneath it, it'll say, is all the labor, is all the sublet, is everything for that one particular job, and is the total for that job, pots, sublet, labor. And so it'll organize it by job, not pots, then job. So there are many, many options, and that's something that you may want to discuss with the support department. If you want to see what they look like, you can basically go in and print a bill, go in and change the option, I want it to look a different way. Take a look at that bill and just try one bill and have it printed 5 or 6, 7 different ways. There's ways where you can get a job summary at the end. So there's many options, and we'll be going over that later. But what we've done is we've actually gone in. Now, last chance to change your mind. It basically says, okay, to finalize this and cut transactions. What this means is, okay, you told me this job is done. It's going on your sales journal. I'm going to take that money and put it in your cash register. I'm going to finalize everything all up here. And I'm making any general ledger entries that need to be made. It's done. Now if I look at that and I hit the Enter key, obviously that job is not here. I can still see it. Maybe I want to see my closed jobs. If I click here, List Close RO. Now I told it I want to see closed, but it says, well, how do you want to see it? Do you want to see it by RO number? Do you want to see it? I want to see it by RO. Well, all the dark blue ones are bills, jobs that are done. If I want to look at it again and say, well, let me check this out, it tells me that the RO is finalized. I can look at it again. I cannot modify it. I can't change anything because it's already been billed. Now, we do have a reactivate feature where maybe if you did make a mistake and you build an RO and now you realize, oh boy, I billed this out. I forgot to change something. I forgot to bill something. I forgot to put a part on here. Well, there is a method where you can reactivate it. That'll be in the next chapter on how to reactivate a closed RO, and it'll cancel or reverse everything that you did, and now you can add whatever modifications you want to do to it and bill it again. Okay, so what we've done there is going over a lot of different features here in Update Close RO. Also, some of those same features are also in the mechanic posting if you're using that. And let's go in and pick a mechanic here. I'm going to go in and let's pick a mechanic up and say Dick, and we're going to just type in a work order here. And there again, some of the exact same features are here. Obviously, right-clicking, brings us to this thing that we've gone over already. But what I want to do is also do the left click, where I can delete lines. I can manipulate price. I can no charge something. It's the same exact features that we had in the other program. Now, some of the other features that you have in here are the same thing. I can change mechanics, delete a line, change the date. Maybe I made a mistake with the date. Look up an RO, no charge something for some reason or another. Add new jobs, add new flat rate, mechanic detail, update, add new codes. Exactly the same thing that we're doing. Go right to the beginning and add a new job to it. So you have some of the same features that you can do during mechanic posting. Just display the pots. I want to see the pots that are for a particular job. And there again, this is where I want to see everybody that worked on a particular job. It'll list all my mechanics that actually worked on a particular job. So if I had 10 people work on this here, it'll list all 10 and who they were, what dates they worked, how many hours they worked. So there again, this is something that you're probably not going to be using unless you're posting from a mechanic time card. If you're not posting from mechanic time card, you probably will never be in this section at all. You'll be doing all your mechanic time from here. So let's go in and do this one more time. I'm going to go in, I'm going to say Update Close RO. I am going to pick the RO I want to close, and in this time, let's do Mike right here. Here's RO, $1,800. I've already decided this is what I want to charge him. I want to bill him out. Now, I'm going to hit Cash Out. I want to finalize it. Now, I just wanted to show you this screen because this can happen. What this is telling me is that a special order exists for this work order. I'm trying to say it's finalized, which it's done, but yet out on my special order clipboard, there's a part out here that was put out a long time ago, and we're still waiting for it to come in. So it's giving me a couple of options. What do you want to do when this happens? Do you want to just delete that from the special order clipboard because the customer says, hey, look it, I'm tired of waiting. If it hasn't come in by now, just give me it. Just give me my product. I don't care. Don't worry about it. Forget about it. So you want to delete it. Or if the customer says, you know what? Tell you what, I want to use it. I want to use my product. Give it to me. Call me when that pot comes in. I'll bring it back. So by clicking Received As, what that's going to do is going to keep it in that special order file. The computer's going to notify me when it comes in that that pot has showed up and it was for work order 588. So now I can call the customer up and let him know, okay, bring it back so we can do it. So let's just click on that one. Same thing, wants to know who I am. How are we going to pay? Maybe we're going to bill this customer. That's the customer. Here's our bill. And now we bill this customer. And here's all my notes. Now this one went to multiple pages. And so, if I go to page 2, here's my last comment. Here's the summary of what we've got going on here. And keep in mind, these are all those notes that we put on underneath each job. So we got a tune-up, and this pretty much says what we had to do that tune-up. So you can add notes as long as you want. There's really no limit. You want to make them 10 pages long, you can do that. Okay, and basically, now this is something else I wanted to show you. If you see this message, what this message is telling me is that there are one job out there that we didn't post any mechanic time against. Do you still want to finalize this? It's just a warning. Did you forget to do something? There's a job out there that you said we need to do this, and nobody posted any time to it. So maybe you made a mistake, and that's what the computer's trying to catch. It's trying to say, are you sure you want to do this? If I say no, I can go back in and say, oh, you know what? I forgot to put the time on there. By not putting the time on there, I'm not going to have an accurate information of, hey, I want to know it took 2 hours to do that job. I don't want to just charge somebody $200 and not record that, hey, I don't care if it took me an hour or 2 hours. Well, that's important information. So, no, obviously it won't do it, but this is a warning, and I'm just showing you this. So if you see this message, this is what it means. I'm going to bill it anyway. That's okay. And now that job has been billed. Okay, what I'm going to do is let's do a real quick job where I'm going to go in, do something instantaneously, and bill it right out. That's using update close RO. So I'm going to go in here, and let's do this Tom Moore here. So I'm just going to type in MO, or there again, I got Tom. He's got a couple of different products here, or I could just do Tom and hit keyword. Or maybe I can type in, like for example, a registration number, or maybe I'll just do a boat name, Dunk. That belongs to Larry Bird. So you can look people up by anything you want. We're going to just do, Tom will do this 1300. Okay, he comes in, he wants me to do something. I'm going to say, okay, obviously we got the scheduling. We're going to click here. Maybe the first thing I want to do is look at my history file. Well, there's the one that we just built out. Notice what's highlighted. Hey, your brakes are bad. You didn't want to fix them because you're short of cash. Here's what we did. Now, there again, we can do the exact same thing. Maybe he says, I want you to do that tune-up again. So I can just right-click and do that exact same job again. And let's do that. Let's just say he wants me to do that tune-up again. So I am going to right-click. Here's the parts I need. Let's put them out of inventory. Select them. I'm putting them right on my job right now. Is the description that I had. Now I may want to change that, obviously. That's all he wants us to do. I'm going to say print and update. We're actually telling me that, okay, you better go get those parts and pull them out of inventory now, because if you don't, the computer has already done it, and now my parts are on the job. Now all I want to do is saying, okay, last time we did it, it was 2.5. That was my estimate. I want to put the time. The jobs, I'm going to click over here, right-click, and I'm going to say, well, Dick worked on it, and he worked 3 hours. And it was a flat rate job at $200. I'm keeping it a flat rate job. And maybe I want to change this here. Maybe I'm going to take this out of here and cut that out. And, maybe I want to put in something different here. And I'm done with that. And I'm looking at this and saying, okay, I just want to build this out. Here's my parts. There's what we're charging for the bill. There's what we're charging for parts. Here's my labor. It was supposed to take 3.5. It ended up taking 3. If I want, I can do a job analysis. Well, how am I making out on this? I made $18 on the parts profit. I'm making $170 on the tune-up. That's good. Let's bill them out. So what I did there in a real simple fashion was I created a work order. I didn't even print the work order. I used the option begin, update, close. And that's exactly what that's for. I went right to the bill. It gives me $300. And what we really did there is we went through all those scenarios. Here's my bill. Here's what we did. Here's the total amount of the bill. And so we're finalized. And so, we're done. Now, what I did there, instantaneously, I used begin, update, close RO. So all that did is it did the exact same thing, except it went right to the close RO portion. It allowed me to kind of do whatever I wanted to do, put in my time, bill it out, and finalize the bill. Okay, so that's the end of this session where we're updating and modifying the work orders. We'll go back to the main menu, and best thing to do is go play around with the system, create some work orders, go in and add charges, do all the things that you kind of need to do till you feel comfortable, and go on to the next chapter.